Around 200 guests meet in Italy for the second edition of the European Air and Missile Defense Conference.
The restructuring of the Audi factory in Brussels is at the origin of the trade union appeal to reindustrialize Europe.
Poland and the Czech Republic undergo mass evacuations while Hungary braces itself for the heavy rainfall.
An Italian opera singer has created a shortened version of La Bohème he hopes will appeal to younger audiences.
Around 200 guests, including European military leaders and defense ministers, meet in Rome on the occasion of the second edition of the European Air and Missile Defense Conference. The two-day summit, taking place on Monday and Tuesday, focuses on the need to strengthen defense capabilities across the European continent and deter potential threats, given the latest geopolitical developments and the challenges Europe is facing. Tuesday's panels will address a number of aspects from military to industrial, including political consequences.
After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the question of how to build a stronger defense across Europe has become the top priority for European leaders, especially in light of the upcoming US elections, which could determine a shift in US defense support for Europe. The need for the EU to strengthen its defense system and boost arms production capacities are in fact some of the key goals of the next European Commission. We met one of the defense experts who will moderate one of Tuesday's panels here at the Italian Air Force headquarters behind me. The panel will focus on the military aspect of European air and missile defense. We asked him what's at stake and the importance of the conference. Take a listen.
L'obiettivo della conferenza è andare avanti sulla difesa aerea e missilistica integrata del cielo europeo, ovvero del territorio dell'Europa rispetto a minacce quali bombe, missili o droni, principalmente da parte russa. Qualcosa che si è fatto e si continua a fare in ambito NATO, ma che i paesi europei possono e devono fare di più in maniera autonoma e integrata, perché integrato è lo spazio aereo del continente europeo. Il punto chiave è integrare una grande varietà di sistemi, alcuni di fabbricazione americana ed altri di fabbricazione europea, in un sistema unico, integrato, in cui grazie all'intelligenza artificiale e a connessioni cyber sicure si possa identificare un'eventuale minaccia e abbatterla tempestivamente col sistema migliore prima che colpisca il territorio europeo.
By hosting the conference, Italy aims to play an active role.
Organizzare la conferenza a Roma e presentare un paper, quindi un documento ufficiale della difesa italiana che delinea una visione, delle linee guide, delle idee concrete su questo tema, è un modo per influenzare il dibattito e per portare i partner a discutere delle idee e delle posizioni italiane.
The hope is that the Rome meeting will encourage further discussions on the issue within EU institutions. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
They came from Germany, Italy and Hungary to support the Belgian trade unions. More than 5,000 people, according to the police, gathered in the Belgian capital on Monday to support the employees of Audi factory in Brussels and their subcontractors, but also to call for an ambitious European industrial policy to defend jobs on the continent.
Okay, so also in the car industry.
Noi chiediamo comunque all'Unione Europea di mettere in campo delle politiche industriali che diano delle risposte alle lavoratrici e ai lavoratori che guardino al futuro, perché pensiamo che da soli nessuno se la cava rispetto alle sfide che abbiamo di fronte.
In July, Audi announced a restructuring of its Brussels plant, provoking anger among employees. Parent company Volkswagen has also announced closure in Germany. Passenger car sales in Europe are expected to fall by 4.6% compared with the previous year, prompting some Belgian politicians in the procession to say that the answer can only be European.
On a besoin d'une stratégie plus globale. Par exemple, les frais de l'énergie sont beaucoup trop hauts. On a besoin d'un plan industriel pour l'avenir de notre jobs. L'électrification, par exemple, dans l'automobile, ça a besoin de beaucoup d'investissements. Mais maintenant, les grandes marques ne font pas les investissements assez, ils font des épargnes sur les travailleurs, quoi.
Many of the demonstrators are questioning the reindustrialization of Europe, which has been announced for several years.
De qui parle-t-on?
D'une manière générale, on doit s'attendre à ce que l'Europe, et on assiste déjà à ça, est en train de perdre sa place primordiale dans le monde. On est en train de se faire bouffer, littéralement, et je ne sais pas si on est en mesure de mettre quelque chose à l'encontre.
This event is taking place when the union's new institutional teams are being put in place and the European trade union world is trying to make its voice heard at the start of its mandate.
Poland declared a state of natural disaster after heavy flooding killed at least 5 people. The Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says this will facilitate evacuation operations and expedite financial support for victims.
Zwołałem to posiedzenie przede wszystkim, żeby jak najszybciej przyjąć rozporządzenie o wprowadzeniu stanu klęski żywiołowej. Zwróciłem się do ministra finansów i w tej chwili mamy zapewnioną rezerwę na potrzeby miejsc i ludzi ogarniętych powodzią, w tej chwili 1 miliard złotych.
Evacuations as a result of the widespread flooding also took place in the Czech Republic, Austria, and Romania. The majority of the Czech Republic was impacted by the heavy rain, and authorities declared high flood warnings in roughly 100 places. The Oder River that flows to Poland reached extreme levels in Ostrava, the third largest Czech city. Many parts of the city were underwater, and centers have been set up for those who had to evacuate. Meanwhile, Hungary braces itself for the rainfall. Locals helped fortify some of the most threatened areas. The mayor of Budapest warns that the capital faces what could be the biggest flood of the decade. The Hungarian Interior Minister Sándor Pinter confirmed that 12,000 troops were on standby. The man suspected in the apparent assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump faces 2 federal gun charges. Ryan Routh is facing a combined 20 years in prison if convicted of both of those.
He is facing a charge of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. That relates to something that happened about 20 years ago in North Carolina when he had a standoff with police, and also possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number.
Additional charges are possible as the investigation continues. The motive so far remains unclear, but the suspect's digital footprints suggest he had strong political viewpoints, including on Ukraine and China. Routh repeatedly shared his support for Ukraine on various social media platforms. He allegedly claimed to have run a recruitment scheme for international volunteers to fight for Ukraine against Russia's invasion. Ukrainian soldiers and members of the International Legion have denounced Routh's actions.
Meta announced on Monday that it is banning Russian state media outlets such as RT, Rossiya Segodnya, and other related entities. The company claims the outlets had used deceptive tactics to carry out covert influence operations online. The ban marks an escalation in actions taken against Russian state media by Meta, which had already blocked them from running ads and limited their reach. Meta said it would apply the bans globally across all platforms, including Instagram, WhatsApp, and Threads.
A shortened version of Puccini's La Bohème premiered in Perugia, with the goal of captivating Gen Z audiences and drawing young people closer to opera. Reduced from 2 hours 40 to just 90 minutes, the opera was produced by acclaimed tenor Gianluca Terranova, who himself plays the role of Rodolfo.
Adesso i puristi si inorridiranno perché ho già delle versioni pronte da 20 minuti e anche sto lavorando su quelle social da 3 minuti. Perché è come un mega trailer, una promozione dell'opera. Adesso la facciamo in teatro e 1 ora e mezza diventa uno spettacolo già, no? È un racconto dell'opera per invogliare un pubblico, magari distratto, magari giovani che stanno sui social, a dire ragazzi qua c'è qualcosa che noi abbiamo di meraviglioso che dovete assolutamente conoscere.
It comes less than a year after UNESCO gave Italian opera cultural heritage status, and Terra Nova's experimental format has drawn criticism from opera's traditionalists.
Io sono musicista, io non tocco nessuna nota, io faccio un servizio di promozione all'opera lirica che dovrebbero fare loro.
Ma lei lo sa che ha una giornalista bohemienne?
Sì, facciamo sentire un po'. È fredda, eh?
Che gelida manina se la lasci riscaldare.
Beh, è stata un'ottima interpretazione e sicuramente comunque sia facilitava anche la comprensione del pubblico e la storia, specie di chi magari non la conosce appieno.
È stata la prima volta che ho assistito a questa opera, è stata secondo me una bellissima esperienza.
Forse in versione anche ridotta è anche forse uno spreco, non lo so.
Molto sorpresa di vedere tanti giovani comunque qui, è un'opera bellissima, fatta molto bene, bella regia, ottimi cantanti.
Lyric opera is undergoing a major and controversial transformation. The goal is to get Gen Z hooked on it, but obviously the real challenge is to reach the goal without trashing the masterpieces that have made the Italian opera so popular all around the world. Stefania De Michele, Euronews, Perugia.